दादा त्यांचं वडील मन आमचं फादर पवन.
Oh, fifth generation. Fantastic. So this house has seen 5 generations, and just outside in the courtyard is where you dine.
हे बघा खैमा.
ओके, तुमचा मराठा स्टाईल आहे पूर्ण. ओके, आणि चपाती.
हे बघा
मुद्दे.
अच्छा, रागी मुद्दे.
हे आंध्रा चिली चिकन.
आंध्रा चिली चिकन.
डिशला चटणी करणार आम्ही. कांदा
Chutney that's made with the red kanda, the red onion. Chicken biryani. That chicken is rather moist. That's a tasty biryani. I haven't had a single piece of the chicken yet, but just the rice is full on in its flavor. I placed a piece of the meat in my mouth, and that meat quite literally dissolves away. That mutton is cooked so well. Well, we're in Mysuru and we are at this place called Chamarajapuram. I've heard of this eatery called MARATA Mess. मी ऐकलो मराठा मेस. मी बेंगळुरूतून आलो आहे. So people told me if you go to Mysuru, check out MARATA Mess. So I said I should try it. Namaskar. Are you also part of the family?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Pawar.
Pawan Pawar. And that's your father? Mr. Pradeep Pawar.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a family-run enterprise. And so the lady who was here? Okay, so that's your home. That's where you stay? Okay, so they basically serve you in their courtyard, in the garden. Oh, very nice. Okay, namaskara. तुमचं नाव?
माझं प्रियदर्शनी.
प्रियदर्शनी.
हिने कोल्हापूरचे.
Oh, कोल्हापूर.
तिने कोल्हापूर जवळ पलूस गाव.
सांगली डिस्ट्रिक्ट. ओके, सो तुम्ही इकडे ते कोल्हापुरी मटन वगैरे करता का? पांढरा रसा?
ऑर्डर असेल तर करतो, नाही तर नाही.
ओ,
मध्ये देत होतं, इथं कुणाला आवडत नाही.
आवडत नाही. सो इट्स व्हेरी स्ट्रॉंग, व्हेरी स्पायसी.
हे बघा खैमा.
ओके, तुमचा मराठा स्टाईल आहे पूर्ण. ओके.
हे बघा बिर्याणी.
कोणतं बिर्याणी आहे? मटन आहे, चिकन आहे?
चिकन.
हे राईस कोणतं राईस आहे?
आम्ही जिरा राईस.
सीरगा सांबार राईस आणि चपाती.
हे बघा
मुद्दे.
अच्छा, रागी मुद्दे. So your family is Maratha family. So generations ago you have moved to Karnataka. So that is the influence. So that is the food that they bring. So what happens is the Maratha traditions, but with the local ingredients, local taste, local flavors. There's some fish here. Hey, काय fish आहे?
हे काटला.
काटला. Okay. हे काय आहे मसाल्यामध्ये? ब्याडगी मेणसिनकाय काय आहे?
गाडगी मेणसिनकाय.
टॅमरिन टाकतात का याच्यात?
टॅमरिन नाही घालतात.
नाही, vinegar टाकतात. ओके. So basically a good fish masala is always about the spice and of course the salt and then the sour. So some people use tamarind and here they use the vinegar.
डिशला चटणी करणार आम्ही. कांदा कांदा लाल येते ना, तळीत वाजता तसं दिसते.
Those are red onions and chili.
हे आंध्रा चिली चिकन.
आंध्रा चिली चिकन. ह्याच्यात थोडा कॉर्नस्टार्च टाकतात का?
होय.
तो कुकिंग वगैरे कोण? तुम्ही, तुमची बायको?
मसाला सगळं घालतो. माझा बायको करते. माझा मुलगा सगळं असं ते सगळं बघतो.
Oh, very nice. So this is like a family enterprise. Super.
हे बघा पेपर चिकन. हे भरून करणार आम्ही. म्हणजे आज एकादश ना.
Okay. So what he says is today is Vaikunta Ekadashi,
Yeah,
correct?
Vaikunta Ekadashi.
So a lot of people are vegetarian, they don't eat out, so therefore the portions are reduced and the number of dishes are reduced.
लोक येऊन जेवण जेवतात ना, त्याचे एक कप द्यायचा. ಮೊದಲು ನಾವು ಫಿಶ್ ಬಾಲ್ ಹೋಟೆಲ್ ನಡೆಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ.
ಎಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷ ಆಯ್ತು ಅದು?
33 years.
33 years. 1980 ಇಂದ.
1980 ಇಂದ.
What sort of food was fish bowl?
ಐಸಾ.
Okay, Marathi food. ಸಗಲ Marathi food.
ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಗ ಜ್ಯೂಸಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ.
Okay, so all the mocktails. So soda ಹಾಕಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? ಲೆಮನ್.
ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸೋಲ್ ಕಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ.
ಸೋಲ್ ಕಡಿ. ಕೋಕಮ್ ಇದು. अगड़
इज डिफरेंट एंड कोकम इज डिफरेंट. इसमें शुगर नहीं रहता है. लेस शुगर. अगर जो कोकम जो है उसमें शुगर रहता है.
ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಥೆಚ್ಚಾ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ?
ಥೆಚ್ಚಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಸಿಸ್ಟರ್.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. तुमचं नाव मॅडम? शोभा जाधव. ओके.
बैंक ऑफ बरोडा.
ओके. रिटायर्ड इन Mysuru.
मैसूर बेंगलोर दोन्ही कडे असतं.
दोन्हीकडे ओके.
चपाती सगळं करणार त्यांनी.
सगळे रेसिपीज फॅमिली रेसिपीज. Mr. Pradeep Pawar and Mrs. Shobha Jadhav, they began this fishbowl pan.
फिशबॉल पण.
So they began an enterprise called Fishbowl, and then they decided to create an eatery in the space of their home, which is what Maratha mess is all about. The ladies in the family come from Maharashtra.
महाराष्ट्र.
So you come from Sangli.
Yeah.
Your wife comes from Kolhapur.
मदर इज मिरज.
From Miraj. So therefore, although Mr. Pawar has settled in Mysuru for generations and therefore he has assimilated the flavors of Karnataka, perhaps when the ladies come into the family from Maharashtra, they bring the touch of Maharashtra.
महाराष्ट्र.
So that's how I guess you also keep the Marathi flavors vibrant and alive. So the atmosphere too here is quite homely. So there's a table here where they are cleaning their greens, I suppose. There's a dining area at the back. That's the home. That's the kitchen. It's a family at work. So the atmosphere is quite similar to that of a home. Regular ಇಲ್ಲಿ?
ಹೌದು ನಾವು ಬರ್ತಾರೆ.
ನಾನು ಏನು ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಇಲ್ಲಿ?
ಮಟನ್ ಪಲಾವ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ.
ಮಟನ್ ಪಲಾವ್.
ಫಿಶ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ.
ಫಿಶ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ.
ಪಲಾವ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ.
ಪರಿಮಳ ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸ್ಮೆಲ್ ಇಟ್. 2 ಮಾಸ್ಕ್ ಇದೆ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ. Still I can smell that mutton pulav. When you come to a new place, always ask the regulars, ask the people who visit, what do you recommend, and you will surely pick winners. हे तुमचं घर? Oh, painting चाललंय का?
चलिए आज नाही किचन सब रेडी.
Okay. Nice. Mr. Pawar has been kind to invite us to his house. हे खूप old आहे ना?
120 years.
120 years. Look at those wooden beams. You will not find them anywhere now. I love the old columns, and of course the kitchen is now contemporary. Say घराचंच kitchen.
आता केलं.
नवीन केला होता.
Oh,
किचन होता पुन्हा दही बोसा.
तो घरात पण सेम फूड आहे का?
नाही इथलं कनेक्शन नाही. ते वेगळं.
ते वेगळं. सो इकडे लाईट फूड.
दही फूड आमचं घरचं फूड.
घरचं फूड. ते पण घरचं फूड ना?
घरचं फूडच आहे. म्हणजे आम्ही काय तसं काय नॉनव्हेज खाणार ना.
जास्ती व्हेज.
बघूनच समजते.
भाकरी करणार.
ओ भाकरी पण करता का तुम्ही इकडे?
काही इथं घरात.
पण तिकडे रेस्टॉरंट मध्ये नाही.
इथं नाही करत. चपाती करतात.
भाकरी, ठेचा, कांदा लसूणची चटणी आणि थोडं वरण. You don't need anything else. If you have some varan, some bhat, some varan, some tup, sajuk tup.
ठेचाला सगळं ते.
Combination. So you have some rice, you have some lentils, you have a little bit of pure desi ghee, and to add some spice, some thecha, which is basically green chilies crushed with garlic.
करडा.
I'm just reminiscing all my Maharashtra days, talking to the family here. Fantastic, sir. So this is what, 3 generations?
5th.
दादा त्यांचं वडील मन आमचं फादर पवन.
Oh, 5th generation.
Generation.
Fantastic. So this house has seen 5 generations, and just outside in the courtyard is where you dine at Maratha Mess here in Chamarajapuram. Chamarajapuram in Mysuru. What's nice here is that the biryanis you can order either in a full portion or a half portion, because I intend to taste both the biryanis, the chicken and the mutton.
Virgin mojito.
Thank you. So we've got a virgin mojito. That's refreshing. Mysuru is a little warm. एक हाफ चिकन बिर्याणी द्या, एक हाफ मटन बिर्याणी द्या, एक फिश फ्राय द्या, मग तुमचं आंध्रा चिली चिकन द्या, मग खैमा द्या, कबाब पण आहे, चिकन कबाब पण. चिकन कबाबला हाफ पोर्शन देणार का तुम्ही? ठीक आहे, मला मग ते कबाब आणि पेपरचं हाफ पोर्शन द्या. The fish fry. This is the katla, the rohu. Typically, most of the fish that you will find in this area, which is the fish fry, is that which is available in the dams or the tanks, etc. And this is a fish that does very well in this sort of ecosystem. So that's a very popular fish. The advantage, of course, is that it's a relatively inexpensive fish. So you get a complete piece for about 80 or 90 rupees. And here they serve it with a chutney. And this is a chutney that's made with a red kanda, the red onion. So it's got the onions, it's got the tamarinds and some green chili in that. And then of course this dish, I'm told, is a very popular dish here. This is the kaima. So basically mutton mince in a curry which is rather herbaceous. So I'm sure there's plenty of coriander in it. Let's begin with that fish fry, which is the katla. There's always a slight earthy sort of an aroma to these species of fish. And we got some biryanis too. So this is the mutton biryani and the chicken biryani. So we have the fish fry here, the katla that we spoke about. We have the kaima unde, which is a very popular dish here. A lot of coriander in this, I suppose. There's some tomato I can see there. Perhaps some dill even that goes into the kaima unde. That's a typical way in which they prepare the kaima unde. And then we have the biryanis. So this, I'm told, is the mutton biryani. And this is a chicken biryani. So these are half portions that I've ordered. And then we have half portions of the Andhra chili chicken. There's a pepper chicken here and the chicken kebab. This is the mutton chops, a full portion of the mutton chops. And the biryanis are served with a sherwa. So I think this is the mutton gravy. I think this is the chicken gravy. And you have an onion salad, a raita of sorts. That's a fish where you got to be a little careful about the bones, because the bones of the katla are the sort that are not too forgiving if you swallow them. So the masala of that fish fry is a sort that is pleasing. There's a gentle sort of warmth to it. Another sort that's life-changing in any manner of speaking, but does well to complement the mild, slightly earthy flavors of the freshwater fish. And I think the reason why the katla is very popular is also the fact that, let's say if you're having a kaima unde or perhaps a chili chicken and some chapati or some biryani rice, etc., it makes for a satisfying side. At only about 80 or 90 rupees, you get a slice of fish. The fish has been fried rather well though. So the masala has formed a crispy, crackling sort of a crust, and that helps lend some flavor to the otherwise relatively mild flavored katla. It's quite easy to debone this fish. Once you go past that, it's pretty much the flesh of the fish and the crusty masala all the way through. Because that fish and that masala is quite mild-mannered, that's where you have that chutney, that red onion chutney. Because when you combine that mild-mannered fish fry suddenly takes on a rather aggressive personality. There's also some lemon here, but there's enough acidity in this chutney that you don't really need the lime. So when you taste this fish fry, taste it with plenty of that chutney. That red onion chutney is a sort that transforms this katla fry, slightly demure, slightly withdrawn personality of the fish fry into that of a complete party animal. I think next I'm going to taste some of the chicken kebab here. Oh, even the chicken kebab is served with the same chutney. The kebab is crunchy on the outside, moist and juicy within. So I think in a lot of these masalas, they also add a pinch of the color just to give it that bright red, grab me sort of a appeal that patrons seem to prefer. Again is the chutney. The magic of the chutney that elevates from just another chicken kebab to something quite pleasing. I think next we should taste that kaima, the kaima unde. This is a dish that came rather recommended by some of the patrons who were sitting here too, by some of the customers who were here. Rasam, This is a kaima unde that's rather soft. There's a bit of the pastiness that comes from some flour that's typically used as a binding agent to bring the mince together. And is a sort that will make for a item to mop up with your chapati. The chapati is rather soft and makes for a good combination with that kaima. So much so that I'm going to go for another piece of the kaima. You know what's really nice about the flavors here is that the flavors are rather mild. They aren't the sort that will really set your mouth on fire. So for example in this, I'm tasting the sprightliness of coriander, of some mint, and then the heat of the green chili. So I think because Maratha mess is a home kitchen of sorts, although it's a large kitchen, but it's a family that's behind the food. So I think the food that they do is the sort that they would eat themselves. And therefore, I suppose these are the sort of flavors that you can eat on a regular basis, thereby explaining for the number of people that I saw come in here who knew exactly what they wanted the moment they stepped in. So they basically make it and store it in a hot box. So I thought perhaps it could be a bit hard, but not in the least. The chapati is quite soft and makes for a great accompaniment to that kaima curry. And as I am placing scoop after scoop of that kaima with the chapati into my mouth, I can now feel definitely the heat of the green chili at the tip of my tongue. So I think since I already have the chili on my tongue, perhaps it's time to taste the other popular dish here, which is the Andhra style chili chicken. So this is a masala which has also been thickened with some cornstarch, thereby explaining for the consistency of the sauce. Plenty of chilies, green chilies. It's a chili chicken, so what do you expect? Also plenty of chili seeds, so you know this is going to be a spicy sort of a preparation. Sakkat kar hai there. Also a bit of the salty hit to it that comes not just from the salt but also from some soy sauce that also goes into that Andhra style chili chicken. I think with this you definitely need some chapati because the wheat will also help balance against some of that chili heat. The chicken has a bit of a bite, but in a pleasing sort of way. I'm being brave and also having a sliver of the chili in this bite. And I'm beginning to think I made a mistake. That green chili is potent. Despite that, this is a sort of tasty preparation that you don't want to let go of. I think next let's taste a bit of that pepper chicken, which also came highly recommended. There's peppers, but then of course the green chili is never too far behind. I can also taste the flavor of the curry leaf in this, in addition to the lingering warmth of the pepper. So also the cuts of meat here are the sort that you would cook at home. So you got to pry through the bones to get through the meat in some cases, like in this pepper chicken. I think next I'm going to go for that chicken biryani. That chicken is rather moist. They use the siraga sambar rice. You can see some coriander there, some green chilies. A rather flavorful biryani. Always taste the rice to begin with. Don't be in a hurry to meet the meat. Always taste the rice because that's where you will be rewarded with the flavors of the meat and the masala as that biryani has cooked, sealed in that pot for an hour or so. This is a biryani that is based on the green masala paste, coriander, mint, green chilies, and those are really the sort of fresh, spicy flavors that you're tasting. Somewhere you also have a bit of the aromatic notes of the garam masala, be it the bay leaf, perhaps the cinnamon, or the marat mogu, or perhaps even the kalua. So every household will have its own combination for that biryani masala. A common ingredient in most cases would be cinnamon, would be cloves, would be the bay leaves. And then in the Maratha, Karnataka style of biryani, they also use the kalapasi or the kalua or the stone flower, which is a lichen, which isn't much to smell when you smell it by itself. But when it goes into the biryani pot, it is transformed itself and gives out a very distinct sort of an aroma, along with some marat mogu or the kapok buds. These are typical spices that go into a biryani garam masala if it's a Maratha, Karnataka style of a biryani. That's a tasty biryani. I haven't had a single piece of the chicken yet, but just the rice is full on in its flavor. Let's now taste the meat. You also have bits of bones that you need to work your way through, but that doesn't take away from the flavor of this biryani. I think if you give me this biryani rice just by itself, with perhaps a side of something else, I think that would make for a happy meal. Out here you'll also have a bit of a commotion happening at the back with the servers, people communicating, etc. But that's the experience of this place. All that you need to do is focus on the food. I think this is my cue to reach for that mutton chops. I always love that oil that floats to the top of a meat curry, because that oil, flavored with the spices, and also incorporates into itself the fat that is rendered from the meat and also the gelatin. That piece of meat is soft. And the salt that almost, and I'm not kidding, dissolves away. And I think that gravy, which is again a gravy that's based on some green masala, makes for a tasty accompaniment to that chicken biryani rice. There's also some pepper heat, and that's the sort that's opened my sinuses. You got to work your way through tiny slivers of bone that you may encounter every once in a while, but don't let that get in the way of your enjoyment of the flavors. Delicious. Let's go for that mutton biryani next. There's some tomato that I see in there. Very different masala from the chicken biryani. There's also a mini chop here. That rice is moist. You know even before tasting that it has trapped all the flavors of the biryani. The rice is moist and also a bit heavy. There's a bit of tartness that I'm tasting which comes from the tomatoes and perhaps also some red chili powder that goes in to spice this. And what you're definitely tasting is the flavor of some of the aromats, some of the spices. And what I suspect here is that they've also used some ghee when they season the spices that go into it. I placed a piece of the meat in my mouth and that meat quite literally dissolves away. That mutton is cooked so well. Mutton yaar madodu illi. Mutton. Super ಇದೆ. Shopping ಯಾರು ಮಾಡೋದು ಮಟನ್ಗೆ?
ನಾವೇ.
ಭಾಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ. ಕರಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ರೀ ಬಾಯಿನಲ್ಲಿ.
ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬಲ್ತಿರೋ ಥರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಎಳೆದೇ ಥರ ಅಲ್ಲ.
ಎಳೆ ಥರದ್ದು. They basically get the meat of the young animal. So I think when you come here, you've got to do the meat. Whether it's the kaima or the chops or the biryani. The mutton in all three preparations are the sort that will, even as you're sitting here savoring the meal, already have you thinking about planning your next visit. That's how seriously good the lamb, the quality of the mutton here is. And not that the chicken dishes aren't worthy contenders too. That chicken biryani, I found that rice extremely flavorful. And if you fancy something spicy, that chili chicken is certainly something that you can try. The kebabs by themselves are all right, but in combination with that kempu onion chutney, that red onion chutney, are again the sort that will definitely make a serious impression on your palate. They serve you some gravy, the mutton gravy, the chicken gravy with the biryani. Also some salad. I'll probably have a bit of the salad, but the gravies you don't really have a need for, because all the flavors that you seek you will find in the moist, juicy pieces of meat. Because I ordered a half portion, I think the meat is over. Since we don't have the meat, I want to close with that mutton biryani rice and some meat from that chops gravy. The quality of the meat is supreme here. This is the sort of meat that needs no teeth. Baili aaki, it just slithers down your throat. Ashtu soft, ashtu medu ide idu mutton. Is as velvety as silk. Of course, the flavor of that chops gravy is a lot more punchy as opposed to this biryani rice, which is a little more sedate, little more shy. But I must say that combination too works rather well. You can see some of the fats from the gelatin. It's ribboned through the meat, which is what ensures that the meat is soft and succulent as it cooks, be it in that kurma or chops gravy or the biryani. Some onions, some mysore just to close things here. So if you happen to be in Mysuru and want to taste something off the beaten track, food that's cooked by a family that's lived in this house for the last 5 generations, a family whose lineage goes back to Maharashtra but have assimilated into the culture and lifestyle of Karnataka, definitely check out the meaty fare here at Maratha Mess. Most of the dishes that I've tasted here are the sort that have left an impression on my palate, and an impression that will endure even after I reach Bengaluru later this evening. All the dishes are noteworthy, but what you must definitely taste here are the mutton dishes. Whether it's that mutton chops or that kaima or that mutton biryani. The quality of the meat and the manner in which it is cooked is what one would call A1, supreme. I hope you've enjoyed this lunch excursion in Mysuru. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, stay strong, and happy eating. If you'd like to support the work that we do at Food Lovers TV, do consider joining our membership community on YouTube by hitting the join button below or on the home page. You could pledge a nominal sum and receive special privileges like behind the scenes footage, shoot updates, access to live Q&As, and a lot more. You could support us on our Patreon page as well. For more info, check out the links in the description below. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment below. Happy eating!